What is up, everyone? It's TheNealDeal representing Team Blueprint here, and I'm bringing you a deck tech on my customized Druid deck that I just made recently. Um, I climbed from rank 13 to around rank 7 before I started playing different decks and got deranked a little bit. So I'm bringing you this today to try to help people who maybe want to play a Druid deck, and this one's a pretty fun deck to play, and there's definitely a lot of win potential in it. Um, as as of right now, there are a few cards that I'm missing to make this deck more viable. The cards that I'm missing are another Force of Nature, Sylvanas, and let's see, I actually think that's it. Yeah, I think I'm just missing Sylvanas and another Force of Nature, because the Force of Nature combo with Savage Roar is really ridiculous, but the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo is very common in a lot of decks, and to be clear, this deck does not rely on that to win. It's a helpful win con. So as the deck stands right now, you run 2 Innervates, which any Druid deck will usually run. It's a great card. It gives you 2 mana crystals until end of turn. It's a really broken card. I'm also running 2 Wild Growth to give you the Ramp Druid feel, but you're not necessarily playing Ramp Druid. You're kind of playing a mid-range deck because you can kind of combo them out before they can help, or before they can do any damage to you. So it works really well. 2 Wraths because you can clear. Clearing is honestly very, very important in this game. If you're new to the game, clearing is basically the biggest thing you want to you want to have board control. So Wrath helps, and it also gives card draw if they have a 2/1, like a Loot Hoarder or Iron Beak Ala, anything that's a 2/1, or even if you just need to draw a card. Savage Roar, because as I said, it works very well with Force of Nature. It's probably one of the strongest cards in this deck because it can be comboed, because once they see the Wild Growth, they're not going to think you're playing a deck that runs Savage Roar or Force of Nature, so they're going to think, oh, okay, well, I'm out of lethal range because he's not running either of those cards. So just keep that in mind. You can pull off some pretty big combos with that. Big Game Hunter, because let's be real, any deck above rank 10 is going to have something like a Ragnaros or anything big that you need to get rid of that's a 7 attack or higher is definitely going to be hit by Big Game Hunter, such as Earth Elemental, which is a 7/8 with Taunt. That's an extremely big deal to be able to get rid of that, so that's good, and let's run one of those, not 2, just 1. The 6th card I'm going to be talking about is Shade of Naxxramas. These are 2 filler cards, actually, that will be replaced with another Savage Roar and another Force of Nature. Shade of Naxxramas is a really good card, and it's really strong because people always want to remove it because it's a 2/2 that gains +1/+1 and is stealth. And it gains +1/+1 at the start of every turn, or it's either start or end, but it's pretty sure it's the start, actually. Yeah, it's the start. So basically with Shade of Naxxramas, it's like a really good, because it's a 3-drop 3/3 virtually, unless they have a clear, like at the very beginning. Because it does have stealth, there's no way for them to target it unless they have like a consecration if you're playing a paladin, Holy Nova with a priest. People will use it a lot to get rid of this card if they can. So it's a very good card, and it honestly, it can either be a very, very, very patient assassin, or it can just turn into a card that you can, kill a Harvest Golem with and throw on a taunt to make sure it doesn't die. Shade of Naxxramas is a very, very versatile card, and I like it in this deck a lot, but I do think that another Savage Roar and Force of Nature will be more viable, but I don't have them yet. We will talk about that later. You're running 2 Swipes. The main reason you run Swipes is because it's broken. It's probably the most broken card you're going to run in this deck. You do 4 damage to a creature and 1 damage to all other enemies. So basically it's like, let's say they have an Nerubian egg and then it dies, and then you summon the Nerubian, and they have, for example, they're playing Zoo. So they have the Nerubian, and you swipe and you kill, let's see, Knife Juggler could be at 3/1. And there's also a lot. It works well with your hero power because you can just do 1 damage and then swipe. Zoo is very, very prominent right now, so swipe is very, very good against Zoo, especially if you know how to play it well. If you start having trouble with a lot of Zoo decks, you could also run Blood Mage in this deck if you have it. It's not necessary in this deck at all, actually, but it does help and it does work. It certainly works with swipe. It's a very good 2-drop, so that's why swipe is good. It can clear board, and it'll also help you get lethal. A lot of people have to play around it just in case that swipe, that you have swipe in hand. They have to play around it because swipe is like a really deadly card. So see, Chillwind Yeti. You run 2 of those because Chillwind Yeti's like, it's really good, and it works well in this deck because of the Innervates. You get 2 mana crystals. On turn 2, you can have a chillwind Yeti if you play your cards right. So a chillwind Yeti on turn 2, it's a 4/5. There's no way unless they hex to get rid of that card. So that's a really good card, but hex is really only for shaman. So chillwind Yeti is a very good card, and you get in for at least 4 damage before they can kill it usually. The next card I'm going to talk about is Keeper of the Grove. It's a 4-drop 2/4 with either choose one, do 2 damage to a minion or silence a minion, or deal 2 damage or silence a minion. It's also a very good card because it's versatile and it's a 4-drop 2/4, so the stats are decent and the effect is even like more OP. The next card I'm going to talk about is the Senjin Shield Master. Don't really need to explain this. Next card is Druid of the Claw. You get a 4/4 with charge or a 4/6 with taunt. The reason this card is so viable is because it's a 5-drop 4/6 with taunt, and they have to get rid of it. Like, they have to use a Black Knight, and that'll leave you open to things like Ancient of War or maybe playing your Sludge Belcher. Like, it's a very good card, and it's very, very versatile. It can give you lethal with the charge and Savage Roar combo if you do have it. So just keep that in mind whenever you're playing. It's a very versatile card, and if you take your time, you can usually get the most out of it. So just always take your time when you're using that card. The next card I'm going to be talking about is the Faceless Manipulator. Any deck runs a card that is their win con. So if they have Ragnaros, Earth Elemental, even a Cairne, like, you Faceless Manipulator it and you're on equal grounds. So it's a very good card, and it's very versatile. Again, this deck is very versatile, and it doesn't rely on a specific card to win in the game. This is not a shenanigans deck. This is a deck that you can climb the ladder rankings with, I promise. Take me as an example. The next card I'm going to be talking about is Loatheb. Loatheb is a card that most decks run nowadays because it's a 5-drop 5/5 that enemy spells cost 5 more the next turn. So that is very devastating to certain decks. It's devastating against you because if they use a Loatheb, you can't swipe if you need lethal, you can't Force of Nature, you can't Savage Roar. You can, but you can't Force of Nature at all actually, but you can, you can swipe, but it's for 9 mana. So really it's like kind of the point where you're going to ask yourself, is it really worth it? But it's just one of the things Loatheb can be used for. But it's also a 5/5, so it's like, it's very good, and if you don't have Sylvanas, it's a very good filler until you can get Sylvanas. I would recommend running both, though. The next card I'm going to be talking about is Sludge Belcher. You only run one in this deck, and it is actually a filler for Sylvanas. The only reason this is a filler is because Sludge Belcher is a very good card, but you have a lot of taunts, so you don't necessarily need it. But it is a very, very, very good card, and it's very, very good. So I would definitely run it into the deck. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. The other member of the team is inviting me to duels. The next card I'm going to be talking about is Force of Nature. I would run 2. I don't have to, but I would run 2 because the combos you can get with these cards are absolutely ridiculous with Savage Roar. The next card I'm talking about is Cairne Bloodhoof. This is a card that's very good. It's not necessary for the deck, but it is very good, and it can change the tempo of the game. Cairne Bloodhoof, in case you didn't know, is its Death Rattle is summon a 4/5 Bane Bloodhoof, and it's basically just replacing itself. So you get 2 4/5s out of it unless they silence it, which you're gaining a card advantage out of it if they silence it, and then they have to kill it. So it's a very good card, and it's very, very useful. The Black Knight, the reason that I run this card is because there's a lot of Senjin Shieldmaster, Sludge Belchers, anything like that, and even against the mirror, you kill an Ancient of the War for free. So it's a very good card and very, very useful in this deck. The next card I'm going to be talking about is Ancient of the War. You can either restore 5 health or draw 2 cards. This card is very good right now because against Zoo, Hunters, any type of Hunter really, and any people that they're like, oh, okay, I have him on the brink of lethal, he's very close to dying. Well, no, you play Ancient of the War and Ancient of the Lore, and you restore 5 health, and they're like, well, shit, what do I do now? So it's very good, very, very useful. I would definitely recommend running 2 in this deck. The next card I'm going to be talking about is Ancient of War. It's a very good card, but I only run 1 because it's either a 10/5, which you usually don't want to do that because this is a very good card to use for a taunt. The only problem is if they haven't used a Black Knight and you're wondering, you're skeptical, you're like, do they have it? Can they use it? I don't want to die. It's kind of the card that you want to save until you see the Black Knight come out, or at least a Hex or something, because it's a very good card and it's very, very hard to get around. So that's why I use that card. Last card I'm talking about is Ragnaros. Okay, it's great. Ragnaros is probably one of my favorite cards in the game. You can silence it with Keeper of the Grove, and it'll be an 8/8. Usually you don't want to do that, but I mean, you can, because you're basically getting the 8 damage down onto whatever you need to. So it's just kind of like situational in the game. But Ragnaros is just a broken card. But yep, that basically sums it up for this deck tech. The list that is completely finished will be in the description below, and if you need to see it, it'll definitely be there, and you guys can pick that up, and that'll be the completed deck that I would recommend using over this one. But this deck is also good. I have play tested the new updated deck list on my friend's account, and it's very, very strong and very, very powerful, but so is this deck. So try them both out, see which one you like more. Just kind of experiment with this deck. It's not a deck that you can play for like a game and then just automatically be good with. Take some time getting used to the cards, getting used to the card draws, getting used to like how you want to play the game, how you want to play aggressive, you want to play control, because this deck can do both. So thank you. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask me in the comment section below. If you like the video, just like it, and then if you want to see more deck techs, let me know in the comments, and for sure subscribe, and that'll definitely show that you guys are supporting me. Thank you.